these days some people talk about manifestation. They talk about manifesting things into the world, that if you want anything in the universe, you can have it, like The Secret, as it's called. And I think a lot of people are turned off by The Secret because, 99% of people what do they want? They want money, or they want power, or both. Usually some sort of money or financial, or some sort of gain for themselves. And then they want these things, and then they might try and they won't get it, and then they'll be turned off by the idea, or they won't be interested in the idea in the first place. Or they'll think that perhaps because in the Bible it said that God rules the world, and humans shouldn't have the power to change things, that if humans did have the power to change things, that it would be against God's will or whatever. So people have all these different thoughts and opinions. But aside from like the emotional sort of and intellectual side of it, just imagine though, if you could manifest anything that you wanted, and you could just have anything in the world, or you could do anything, or you could change anything, what would you do? Like, if you had all of those powers, what would you actually do? If you were Superman or Superwoman, or you could, just make butterflies appear or something, or you could move mountains, or, what would you do with those powers? And I was listening to a video the other day. One guy has a fairly popular channel, so I don't, I listen to what he has to say. I don't really take much of it in. Sometimes he has interesting ideas, and sometimes he has callers that call in with their own experiences, their own observations. And the other day he had a couple of really interesting callers, and one lady in particular, I remember what she said because it sort of stood out to me. She said that one time she had an experience where she was leaving work, and she was leaving work with a bunch of guys, and the rain was just pouring. Just before they finished work, the rain was just pouring down, and they couldn't really get to their cars without getting wet. So they thought, we'll just wait for a while, we'll wait it out. So they're sitting down and they're waiting for the rain to go. It's just pouring and pouring, and she just looks at them, and this thought comes into her mind, and she just makes a joke, and she sort of jokingly says to the guys, like, "It's okay, I got this." And then she just sort of like puts her hand out into the sky, just waves it around and says, "You can stop now." As if to control the weather, to control the rain. And it stopped, like within like a couple of seconds, it just stopped. Like it went from raining really hard to like nothing, apparently. And so off they went, they got into their cars, and she said she just like quietly made her way to the car. And then as soon as she got into her car, she just burst out laughing because it was so amazing, but also hilarious for her. It's just such a funny situation. And so in that experience for her, certainly it seemed like from her perspective, she did control the weather, and she asked it to stop, and it stopped. So she had that power, but then, her and then the host of this show were talking, and he said something, and then she said, like, she felt that she came into this world to experience things and have fun, and just experience life just for the fun of experiencing it. For her, that was her purpose. No particular learning experience or anything else. For her, it was just a case of just coming into this world like we would sit down and watch a movie. She just came into this world to just sit down and just run around and live her life and have fun with her life. And yet she felt like she had these powers. But then the thing that she said that was interesting, that stood out to me, is that even if she could do anything at all, she probably wouldn't do anything. Like she would even if she had the power to do anything in the world, anything you can imagine, and more than you can imagine, she probably would rarely use those abilities. She would rarely, not very often at all, make use of it. And then the guy hosting the show was like, yes, that's how, we are, people at that sort of level who can do those sort of things. Often we're not power hungry. We're not sort of like, we're not going to take over the world and try and control people or whatever. And even if we did have those abilities, we would hardly make use of them. We would just sort of know that we could do it, but kind of just let things play out. And for me, that's exactly how I feel as well. And some of the experiences I've had, most of my experiences have been, for me, they feel quite minor. When other people listen to me, maybe they sound like amazing things, perhaps, sometimes, I don't know. But there's only like a couple of experiences that really sort of stood out to me. But one experience in particular, sorry, distraction. I was just picking up a pizza and the guy at the counter was like, I love your accent. And I'm like, you've got a really good ear, because most people don't hear my accent. Like, most people don't pick up on it. Where I live anyway, most people, they just hear the same sort of accent that they're familiar with. But my accent's got a little bit of other things in it. Anyway, he's a really nice guy. So anyway, back to my story. So a couple of years ago, I don't know the exact date, but I was on an airplane, and I was coming back from holidays, and it was down south somewhere, and we're flying, and there's turbulence in the plane. Like, the captain comes on the thing, he's like, oh, we've got some turbulence, and we're like, yeah, we know. And he's like, it's going to keep going for a while, like it's really bad, so just sort of buckle up. You can't really move around the cabin for half an hour or whatever. We're like, oh, okay. But I was just really tired and exhausted, and I was in a really super relaxed state. And I, to be honest, I didn't really care for turbulence that day. I was just like, I don't really feel like I want to experience turbulence. And it was not like I really, really am against it, or I'm really hating it, or I'm really loving it, or anything. It was just more like I choose not to experience turbulence today. But I just, instead of putting too much energy or focus into it, I just sort of I just closed my eyes, and I just let myself relax, and I just let it be what it was. It is what it is. If there is turbulence, so be it. But at the same time, I closed my eyes, and I just sort of imagined all of the air outside and everything it was doing, and all of the stress in the air. The air was just full of energy, full of power. And I said to the air, the whole sky, I just said, relax. And I just pictured my whole journey in front of me, the whole way up north where I was going. And I just I just said over and over and over, I just said, relax. And and at the same time I forced myself to relax. Well, I didn't force, I convinced myself to relax, and as I did, I felt myself relaxing. And then at the same time, I wanted the whole sky to just relax, just all the air. I focused on it. I just, not so much energy, just relax. And I kept saying relax, and after a few minutes, like, the turbulence, it all just went away. Like, there was no turbulence at all. It's like, oh, this is so much more peaceful now. And I just had such a peaceful journey back home, and it was great. And, maybe I did something, maybe I didn't do something, but for me, I felt like I influenced it. And I would have just sort of written it off at the time, thinking, oh, well, so be it. But the thing that stood out to me is that at the end of the journey, when we got to our destination and everyone is about to get off the plane, the captain comes out, and he comes out his door and he stands in front, and he greets everyone as they exit the plane. And normally, I've caught maybe 50 or 60 flights over the last 10 years, 12 years, and I'm not really accustomed to that, to the pilot being so nice and friendly to greet the guests as they leave. And maybe they've done it a couple of times, but it's not a regular thing. I looked at this pilot, and all the people on board, the passengers, were so happy to see the pilots being so friendly and nice and greeting everyone as they left. Bye, enjoy your journey, safe trip, ta-ta, blah blah blah. Everyone thought it was so great, and they're all so smiley and happy. But as I got close to him, I just looked at him, and I just got this feeling from him that he was like, there's like a bit of fear or a bit of something going on, and my perception of him was that he was trying to look and figure out, like, he looked like he'd seen a ghost a bit, but he was putting on a brave face. And it looked like I imagined in my brain that he had experienced the turbulence just drying up and disappearing, and him wondering, like, what on earth is going on, and he's trying to find the culprit or find, like, some evidence or something. And yeah. So anyway, I've never told that story before, but now I have.